okay? Because the Knight of Wands don't worry about none of that. The Knight of Wands is focusing straight up on what's fun, what's enjoyable, how does this make me feel right now? And it's really interesting that you have the Knight of Wands here with time to ground, because I think it's right now it's just like enjoying where you are, being intimate in the current situation that you're in. So, the past energy is showing the Eight of Wands here. So that talks about things moving fluidly, moving fast. There's a lot of things that are happening all at once. And of course, I think that left you guys feeling very, how did I put this? It's hard to kind of juggle all the mess at the same time, if that makes sense. So you guys got a lot going on in the past. You got a lot of things happening. Yes, you may have fallen in love in the past here too. There's also a lot of communication with somebody, but I feel like with the Eight of Wands is also suggesting that there was, you felt a bit overwhelmed, and it's stacking up now. I think you guys are struggling with either maintaining the speed or struggling with the balancing of this current energy. But the Five of Pentacles does talk about there being lack in a situation, lack in a relationship, lack of communication, lack of support, lack of finances, lack of intimacy in the relationship. There's something that's struggling here. Now, there's nothing that's not. This is not completely gone. Of course, it's just what there could be more of, right? If you only got a couple dimes, there's the card that would emphasize that there's a desire for more of that. And I feel like the situation is not mostly about money. I think this is actually more talking about communication and relating with people, relating with your partner, trying to get together with the person that you're with, or trying to spend quality time and be more engaged with your person. Because it looks like there's a struggle here with trying to get things back to a place where there is a balance. I think everything's been so focused on the practical that everybody's kind of neglected the relationship. Okay, everybody's kind of been focusing on what they needed to do, but then at the same time, there's disagreements. There's some things that need to be, sorted out, or things that can be better in the relationship. And I think that's why the Eight of Pentacles came out for you guys. You want to work on that. You want to work on grounding your relationship, or putting work into the relationship that does start to reflect upon, success and happiness. Now, what's interesting is that your foreseeable future is the Page of Swords. And the Page of Swords usually talks about getting more information, speaking your truth, cultivating a cultivation of truth. It can also indicate here that this is about somebody communicating their truth in a very harsh way. There's a lot of harsh truths. And I think you may have to be blatant and honest about something with someone in the future, about how you feel, about where you're coming from, based off of something that you've some information that you've understood or collected through this period of struggle with you and your relationship. I feel like there's something that's going on there's a lack in the relationship somewhere, and I don't think you honestly know what it is. I think everything else is kind of covered. There's a lot of stuff happening, and the thing that you didn't realize is the situation that's going on in your relationship, and you can't really quite put your finger on it quite yet, which is why you have the Page of Swords in your future, which is maybe you getting more information on what exactly that's falling out, or what situation is causing this kind of weird in and out kind of energy period. Okay, so not the Queen of Cups. Your best path to follow is showing the Eight of Pentacles here. Okay, and the Eight is the Page of Pentacles, not the Eight of Pentacles, the Page of Pentacles. And the Page of Pentacles does talk about looking closely at your situation, if need be, moving slowly, but it does talk about taking the moment to really look at your situation from all angles, taking it apart piece by piece. Okay, really honing in and being detail oriented in regards to what the fuck is actually going on. Because I think that I really feel like you guys are just kind of hit with this, and you didn't see it coming. I think a lot of you guys were just kind of right in the flow of everything, and then all of a sudden it's like you're at a time of struggle, and it doesn't make sense. It just kind of hit you fast and hard, and you don't really know what's happening, and it's telling you to just take your time, be slow with this, and really figure out what's going on. Really look at the situation, be observant. Okay, I'm going to even clarify the Page of Coins here. See why the Page of Coins is your guys' best path to follow. If all this is coming up, the Page of Coins is coming up because of the Star. The stars talk about hope. It talks about, manifesting what makes you happy. You know what I mean? It's the star is the card that would indicate, healing as well. Okay, the Page of Pentacles is telling you to not only to it's not only to pay attention to the details, but put in the work, the hard work to heal what's there by going towards the goals that you both have in your either relationship, or this is about, focusing primarily on what you guys are trying to achieve in your relationship, not allowing the lack of what you guys have in this relationship continue to be your downfall, or continue to, be the reason why you guys can't succeed. No longer looking at what you guys lack, but focusing forward. All right, and I think that you guys are already doing that, because the Queen of Swords is your external energy. Now, it could be that you guys are connecting with a Libra, Gemini, or an Aquarius here, or that external energy has something to do with like something that's a struggle with the relationship between somebody that isn't until that's either more receptive in regards to the communication, or someone that is very serious at times and very hard to take jokes with, someone that's very literal. Okay, the Queen of Swords, she doesn't play either. She's very, like I said, she's very serious, and it doesn't have to be a she; it could be a he as well. And it doesn't even have to be an air sign. It could be anybody that is, that receives information, that receives, that's, good at conducting themselves when it comes to communication. They can be quite proper, but the thing is with the Queen of Swords is that they don't seem to initiate. Okay, and that's because I think the Queen of course, the Queen of Swords is in a position of defense. She's not looking to initiate anyway, because she's on the defense side. And the reason why is because she's been through a lot of craziness to get to her, that got her to the place that she is now. Serious, logical, and, does not initiate. Okay, now, I feel like the struggle is that there is a lot of coldness in the relationship. There may be, no communication, or if there is, it's a struggle to get a clear communication between you two. This could be even you, Capricorn, that you try to communicate and there's just not a lot of reciprocation, or there's someone else outside of the situation have been trying to communicate, but there's been a struggle with that kind of information. Because in the past, it was clear communication here, and now there's a struggle. Now we're having issues with communication, and it's like we get back to the basics again with communication in the future. But I think it takes one to acknowledge that there's a problem with the communication process. Okay, and I feel like the person has either made that clear to you, or you've made it clear to them about that, and you've been very seriously adamant about working on it and working with looking at a better way to handle that kind of conversation. That kind of imbalance in their conversations. Why is the Eight of Cups in your in your hopes and fears though? Why do you hope or fear that, in regards to, or what do you hope and fear emotional drain in your situation? Or it's too many cards. Okay. All right then. The reason why you have the Eight of Cups in your hopes and fears is the Two of Pentacles. Now, the Two of Pentacles does talk about looking at a situation, or juggling two coins, not looking at your emotions quite per se, but it's also making a decision. I think you guys are just like emotionally drained from the decision making, or the procrastination of somebody, or the waiting of somebody, or waiting of something. I don't think you guys are waiting on something. I think honestly you guys are trying to make a decision that best fits you, and the best, that's best true to yourselves. But the problem is that it's been a drawn out process. I think that the Two of Pentacles can indicate this is a long decision making process. And the fear may be that you're afraid that the person will walk away from the situation, not giving you the chance to truly make up your mind about what you want to do. Why is the Two of Pentacles coming up as for the Eight of Cups? Wow. The Five of Cups. Missed opportunities. Okay. So, okay, I think the fear is not you being emotionally done. I think this is someone else. I think the fear is that you're worried that someone else will walk away from you. Especially if you try to communicate with them the way you have been in the past, because there was things that clicked before, and because you guys are no longer in this wavelength of communication, I think the struggle is that there was maybe a missed opportunity here at one point, and it's because you were focusing on different matters than what your heart wanted, which really had to do with communicating with this person. And I think if you did try to communicate with this person, there is a fear that you guys may have that this person will not be very, very reciprocal. That this person may actually does not want anything to do with you. But then that takes away from hope and risk, and it takes away from, possibility. It's very interesting that you guys have that card there, because the way everything is looking in this reading is like the only problem I'm seeing is really communication and relating to one another and the support factor of everything. Time to ground is a time to support yourself and stabilize your energy. And your outcome is suggesting that you guys end up having to take a stance in regarding to balancing everything, right? No longer just kind of aimlessly, or not aimlessly, or just focusing on one area, but ultimately you guys really start to balance yourselves out by taking situations into account, or taking all the responsibilities into account, and making the best flow out of all of it as you possibly can with the information that you've gathered at this time. Okay, very interesting reading. Very interesting. I think that the situation, though, is really advocating that you look toward and work hard at what you can work on at this moment. Like, very similar to what the outcome is suggesting with the Temperance card. Work on what you can work on. Don't really work on too much about things that are out of your reach at this moment. I think with the Star, it's like we get ambitious and we start trying to take on tasks before we're ready to handle. Before we're handling the current responsibilities that we have now. So focus on what you have at this moment instead of branching out and doing something else. The current situation is communication. Current problem is reconnecting and getting some sort of resolve here with the 5 of Coins. Okay? Because the real situation is that I think there is this fear that somebody is going to walk away from a situation, or someone's going to, is not going to be able to give any further. I think that may be you. Like, I think, you may have walked away before you were quite emotionally done with everything, and I think there may have been some sort of distraction here too. It's really interesting because the 5 of Coins does suggest that there has been a missed opportunity, but there's always like a relationship that's still there because of the 2 of Cups that sits behind it. And it looks like to me that you take those 2 cups, right? You're holding those 2 cups like there's Pentacles and trying and juggling those options, like what you're going to do with it. And instead of going with what your heart wants and figuring out what your heart values, which of those options do you value, it's just kind of in like a juggling kind of thing. Like you've been either trying to keep the balance of the relationship, even though there was something that happened where there was the lack of interaction here. And I think that the fear is, or the situation is that you don't really want to burn out. You don't want this to end. You don't want to walk away from the situation completely, and or maybe you do want to walk away, knowing that you've at least tried everything that you could. But maybe it's also, with the 8 of Cups, is that you're worried that what you invest your time in may not have been exactly what you wanted all this time. Like, it's still something that you're trying to figure out whether or not it's something that's something that you value, or this is something that you desire. Like, is this something that you truly want? And going for it. And I think the biggest thing is not to worry about that, because the situation that you're having right now has to do with, with focusing on one matter at a time. Like Temperance would suggest. Very interesting, Cap. All right, let's see what the power of surrender has to say. This card is upside down. Surrender stubbornness. You are tensing up or taking a rigid stance about something. Gently observe yourself and become more yielding. This will help you communicate more lovingly with others and yourself. Okay. So, we are stubborn. Okay. Ooh. I want to know why you guys got this card. Because in this reading, the Queen of Swords would be the only person in this reading that would indicate stubbornness. Because she can be very stubborn. She's very similar to the King of Swords. Pretty much because the King of Swords does not change his mind regardless of who he's talking to. He's got a strong stance on that. But the Queen of Cups, she's a little bit more flexible. She's a little bit more open to the possibilities of different perspectives. It doesn't mean that she'll outright change her mind. It's just that she's a little more receptive to him, and she'll definitely, consider them a lot more than the King of Swords would. And the fact that you have the surrender card, I think the problem is that you have a certain way that you do things. The Page of Pentacles, I don't even know if even, cause I'm just gonna throw this out there. Page of Coins could be that the situations that you offer your heart or offer something valuable to an Aquarius, because the Queen of Swords external from you, if the Five of Pentacles could show that there's a lack of interaction with this person or a lack of stability, and you finally offer that lack of stability, even if you feel like you don't have enough. Like, I think you just give of yourself, because it's not what you have that predicts whether or not you are, you're worthy of being in a relationship with someone or not. But mostly having to do with just coming from a place of genuineness. Because the Knight of Wands is your underlying energy, and the Two of Cups is there. Go with what your heart wants, and not, don't fight against that. Don't fight against what your true heart's desire is. Now, it doesn't have to be an Aquarius, because the star is here. It could be that this is maybe something that you want to achieve. You want to actually extend stability to somebody that you love, but there's like a compromise. Like, you don't want to come off wrong. You don't want to seem. I don't think you don't want to be wrong with, with how you communicate with someone, or you don't want to seem like. You don't want to seem like you don't have a spine. This is what I kind of get a sense of, but it's not about that. It's not like that. I think the situation is truly about, not just, being open to other people's perspectives, especially when it comes to how things go. Because if you have your own structure, you may have to readjust that structure so that way, your interactions with people are a lot better. But I feel like it's like, stop ignoring what you want. Because it doesn't look like there's anybody else that's suppressing your beliefs or suppressing your ideals or suppressing your desires. You are the only person, and that you would do that to. You're the only person that would be stubborn towards your own interest. And the reason being is because either it has to do with finances, it may have to do with your self-esteem in regards to, where you are in life, or where you should be, where you believe you should be, and maybe where you're not. But that doesn't mean that you're a failure or you're doing something wrong. It's just that you're in the place that you are for a reason. To recognize that the things that you have around you do not define you. And I feel like that's why all this stuff is coming up. And with the Eight of Cups, Two of Pentacles, and the Five of Cups, it's like you sacrifice what you want for what you believe you should be doing, and still putting your emotions in the back burner instead of finally just going for what it is that you want. So go for it without having to worry about what you have and what you don't, because the Page of Coins is somebody that's offering something that they don't feel like they have enough to offer in the first place, but they still give it anyway, because they believe that if their offer is, if this is something, if they are willing to offer themselves up to someone, for some reason, that's a good enough. It's a good enough value already, because that shows dedication and commitment. It's a hard reading, fam. Definitely, because it can mean so many different things for so many different people. And what I'm getting from this mostly is like no longer allowing yourself to be stubborn about what you want, of who you want to pursue, of what direction you want to go into the relationship with. If there is even a relationship, or refusing someone because you don't feel like you're ready to take on a relationship. You've got everything you need. This is the time to restart, to start fresh, to go after your dreams and your hopes. The Eight of Cups may be actually a wish, a desire, because it's not necessarily to be dissatisfied with something, but mostly to go after what it is that you want, to no longer ignore your instincts, your intuition, but to follow it. Not for tradition, not for societal norms, but for yourself. That's why temperance may come up here, because you may have to just learn how to balance everything that you need balance while you do it, because trying to get everything squared away before you get to a certain aspect isn't going to necessarily make anything easier for you, and it may end up causing you to lose more opportunities than you already have, the ones that were really calling to your heart even more so.